So all are requested to mute their mic and video. And if you have any doubt, we have a clarification session during last 20 minutes. Either you may write your query in the chat box or you can ask your questions directly. Okay. Thank you all.
Sir,
Welcome, sir.
Sir,
Over to you.
slide गुड़े को देखा होची ना? Slide आसुची sir?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Sir.
हाँ sir, आसुची.
Sir,
Now you can
sir.
continue.
Sir. Welcome, my dear students.
Yeah.
Today, the book 2 of MPS 002 International Relations Theory and Problems, and unit is 18, Right to Self-Determination. Unit 18, Right to Self-Determination. Self-determination relates to erstwhile third world and presently developing countries. Self-determination is the determination or the freedom, sense of aptitude, not of the individuals but of the states. राष्ट्र गुड़िकर स्वाधीनता पाई जो आंतरिक इच्छा जागृत होता that is called self-determination. You know, in international relations, the actors are the states, not individuals. The individuals are not actors of the international politics or affairs. The states are the actors of international politics. So the self-determination relates not to the individuals, it relates to the states which were the colonies of the imperialist states. Imperialist, you know, after industrial revolution in Europe, there were new trend in the international relations or international politics, that is the creation of empires and colonies. The Great Britain, France, Dutch, Portuguese were the imperialist states who created empires throughout the world. समग्र विश्वव्यापी एमानंकर साम्राज्य विस्तार होता. इंग्लैंड कहतु, फ्रांस कहतु, पोर्तुगीज कहतु, डच कहतु, एमानंकर साम्राज्य समग्र विश्व रे परिव्याप्त होता. These imperialist states captured the political power of the poor and very downtrodden states of Asia and Africa, and these states lost their sovereignty and were known as colonies of imperialist states. These imperialist states were known as also the third world countries. तृतीय विश्व बोली एमानकु कहा जाउतला पर्टिकुलरली, एवं सेमानकु अदरवाइज known as developing countries. In the 20th century, विंश शताब्दी रे जो राष्ट्र माने विदेशी राष्ट्र मानक द्वारा शासित हेउथिले, से राष्ट्र गुडी करे प्रबल जनजागरण सृष्टि हेतिला स्वाधीनता पाए. That is called self-determination. Self-determination, otherwise or loosely, means to win freedom. In 20th century, the colonial states strives hard to achieve freedom from their European masters. European means all those imperial states were located in Europe. You may say England, you may say France, you may say Dutch, you may say Portuguese, all these were European imperial states and were industrially developed states. The Encyclopedia of Social Sciences interprets self-determination to mean definition. The definition of self-determination is all people of one nationality are entitled to dwell together in order to govern themselves in a state of their own. निज राष्ट्र द्वारा निजे शासित होबा सेल्फ डिटर्मिनेशन मीन्स सेल्फ फ्रीडम एवं सेल्फ रूल सेल्फ डिटर्मिनेशन मीन्स सेल्फ रूल सेल्फ the craving for self rule were very rampant in the third world countries which were the colonies of European imperial states. A nation means an imagined community. A community, you know, a nation who relates to those people which live in a particular area or a particular land which is known as a country or a state. If there is a sense of patriotism, a sense of national feeling, a state is converted to nation. गोटे राष्ट्रर जनसाधारण भितरे जनसाधारण हृदय और मनरे जदि राष्ट्र प्रति मात्राधिक भाव प्रवणता सृष्टि है निजकू गोटे भावरे बंधन रे आबंधित करती ताहले ताहाकू गोटे जाति बोली कहजिवो राष्ट्र सेतेबेले जाति रे परिणत होजे स्टेट एंड नेशन are not interchangeable concepts. These are two concepts, but these two concepts mingle together and known as a nation state. The developing states, when freed from their European masters, known as a nation state. India is a nation state, Pakistan is a nation state, Australia. All those were the colonies of erstwhile British Empire. There was a demand for self-determination. The role of UNO, you know, in the after Second World War, there was the creation of United Nations Organization, and United Nations Organization, when created, was the world body, second ever world body to maintain peace and tranquility throughout the world and to eradicate the fear of war in the world with a motive to maintain the process of development. UNO was created by those imperial states, and when UNO created, UNO founded, मिलित जाति संघ जेतेबेले सृष्टि हेतिला तार सृष्टिकर्ता थिले सेही साम्राज्यवादी राष्ट्र माने जो माने सेमानंकर स्वार्थ को सुरक्षा करिया पई मिलित जाति संघर जो नियमावली बा चार्टर अछि ताकू से माने प्रस्तुत करिथिले एवं स्वाधीनता दाबी करुथुवा उपनिवेश रे परिणत हेतिबा राष्ट्र गुड़िकर स्वार्थ को सेतेबेले मिलित जाति संघ सृष्टि बेले ध्यान देई नथिला. But later on, United Nations did not avoid this fact of slogan of self-determination or to provide their self-rule by the imperialist states. You know, in its the charter, in its resolution in the General Assembly, took a resolution that all the states should have equal status and their sovereignty should be regarded by each and every state of the entire UNO member states. समस्त राष्ट्र माने जो माने मिलित जाति संघर सदस्य अछंती से माने मिलित जाति संघर चार्टर बा नियमावली को मानिबा को बाध्य. मिलित जाति संघ तार सर्वोच्च नीति निर्धारणकारी संस्था जनरल असेंबली रे एक प्रस्ताव ग्रहण करिथिला जे समस्त राष्ट्र को स्वाधीनता दिया जिवा आवश्यक एवं every state should have the right to protect its own sovereignty and unity and integrity. It should be cooperated by each other. So, later on stood for the cause of those self-determination craving states. V.K. Krishna Menon, India's first ever defense minister, had an opinion regarding colonialism. He said colonialism is permanent aggression. Colonialism is nothing but a permanent aggression. So, by telling this, V.K. Krishna Menon freed Goa. Goa, the a province of India, was under the control of Portuguese imperialism. Portuguese राष्ट्रर शासन अधीन थिला भारतर गोवा नामक एक राज्य till 1960 1960 मसीहा पर्यंत थिला। V.K. कृष्ण मेनन याकू बलपूर्वक मुक्त करथिले पोर्तुगीज शासन कबल। यही मत पोषण करी कॉलोनियलिज्म एक स्थायी राष्ट्र विरोधी कार्य, स्वाधीन राष्ट्र विरोधी कार्य। With this attitude and attitude of self-determination, the third world countries freed from their European masters, and in these states there was the need for racial equality. Racial equality refers to the different races, different group of people, different identity of people living in one state known as racial people. In a state when there are several identity based people group living together, there is the need of racial equality. I am placing one example. Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka people are divided into two racial groups. One is Singhali origin, Singhali Ab origins. Another group is Tamil Ab origin. आमर पड़ोसी राष्ट्र श्रीलंका रे दुईटी रेस रो जनसाधारण बसवास करती। गोटे हूँ सिंघली ओरिजिन, सिंघली वंशोद्भव बोली कहती। तांकर संख्या हूँ 60% in Sri Lanka, 40% is Tamil Aborigines. Both these races in Sri Lanka form one nation, that is called Sri Lanka. There should be a racial equality. There should not be any discrimination by the rulers of a state towards the racial groups residing of that state. So that racial equality is the second factor of the newly freedom achieved states of the third world countries. If there shall not be a racial equality, the progress, peace and development of a state shall be hampered. So that the self-determination followed afterwards the racial equality of each and every state. Racial equality refers to the right of the citizen as equal membership of nationhood. प्रत्येक व्यक्ति जो माने गोटे रेस रो बोली परिचित होती समस्त को सम परिमाण रे सुजोग समस्त को सम परिमाण रे अधिकार प्रदान करिवा एवं गोटिए राष्ट्रर जनसाधारण भावरे गोटिए राष्ट्र नागरिक भावरे सेमानक भितरे कोनसी प्रकार डिस्क्रिमिनेशन न रहिबाटा होची राशियल इक्वालिटी बोली कहा जाए से राशियल इक्वालिटी सहित राष्ट्र गुड़िक थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज राष्ट्र गुड़िक निश्चित भाव में आगु को जीवे सेथिपाई सेमानक भितर राशियल इक्वालिटी रहिबा उचित बोली मिलित जातिसंघ स्थिर करथिला What is nationhood? The term nationhood and the factors that go into determining one are highly ambiguous and varying. It being a subjective feeling, nationhood, like any other form of loyalty, is a matter of degree. किए केते निज मन भितर राष्ट्रपति समर्पित होची राष्ट्र ताकू केते दूर आदर करूची दैट इज ये वेराइंग फैक्टर नेशनहुड रो अर्थ सबु जगह रे समान नुहे इट डिफर्स फ्रॉम नेशन टू नेशन सम नेशन टेल इट as high degree of national feeling. Some states feel it as it is not so important, but it has its importance also. So nationhood either or is imperative for every state to be a developing and developed state. So self-determination freed the third world countries, and now to till the 21st century, all the till the Cold War period, all the third world countries freed from the process of decolonization. যেভাবে শিল্প বিপ্লব পরবর্তী বিশ্বরে কলোনিয়ালাইজেশন রাপিডলি ডেভেলপ করथिला उपनिवेशवाद समग्र विश्व को ग्रास कर जाइतला ठीक से भली शीतल युद्ध समय शेष पर्यंत देखा गला विश्व रे समस्त उपनिवेशवादी राष्ट्र गुड़िक स्वाधीन होइचंती एवं सेमाने स्वाधीन होई सारी एक तृतीय विश्व नाम रे नामित होइचंती अमेरिका नेतृत्व रे प्रथम विश्व सोवियत रूसिया नेतृत्व रे द्वितीय विश्व एवं नुआ करी स्वाधीनता लाभ करिथिबा राष्ट्र गुड़िक तृतीय विश्व भाव में परिचित होइचंती सो किभली परिचित हेले ड्यू टू दैट सेल्फ डिटरमिनेशन अचीवमेंट सेल्फ डिटरमिनेशन also started in India in the name of freedom movement and Indians achieved their independence from British rule, British control through a peaceful movement and could achieve its own identity. भारत निजर व्यक्तिगत परिचय हासिल कला 1947 में से अगस्त 15 तारीख रे दैट इज कॉल्ड सेल्फ डिटरमिनेशन Next, Unit 19, Intervention and Invasion. Intervention and invasion. You know, intervention refers to interfere of a state in the internal or external affair of another sovereign state. गोटिए स्वाधीन राष्ट्र अन्य स्वाधीन राष्ट्रर आभ्यंतरीण एवं बाह्य कार्यकलाप उपरे हस्तक्षेप करिवा को इंटरवेंशन बोली कहा जाए इट इज ए वेरी इंपोर्टेंट कांसेप्ट इन द इंटरनेशनल पॉलिटिक्स इंटरवेंशन or invasion. Invasion means military expedition. सामरिक अभियान को कहा जाउची इनवेजन इंटरवेंशन मीन्स the interference of a sovereign state in the internal or external affairs of another sovereign state. Its meaning is when one country interferes by force in the internal affairs of another country, the act is called intervention. When one country interferes by force in the internal affairs of another country, means one country means one sovereign state, another country means another sovereign state. गोटे राष्ट्र अन्य स्वाधीन राष्ट्र आभ्यंतरीण कार्यकलाप बाय कोएर्सन बलपूर्वक हस्तक्षेप करिया, दिस एक्ट इज कॉल्ड इंटरवेंशन. Intervention in international law means the dictatorial interference by a state in the internal affairs of another state or in relations between two other states. It is formally forbidden by a number of treaties. Eventually, such type of intervention is not at all acceptable in the international society. You know, international relation is governed by international laws. There are laws. There is a group of laws, a set of laws to control the activities of human beings. So also, there are a number of laws. There is also a set of laws to govern the activities of a state in international affairs. Such laws are known as international laws. International law forbids any type of intervention. Always. Still, there is the activities of intervention. There is the process of intervention. Intervention by a state means intervention by a mighty state in the affairs of internal affairs of a poor state to safeguard its own, to safeguard its farmers, the intervening state. जो राष्ट्र जो बड़ थिबा राष्ट्र हस्तक्षेप करुची तार लक्ष्य होची ओनली एम is to maintain its own national interest. So that intervention in international activities is always illegal. But by such activities are also justified only by its success. Only by its success. Success means where it is fruitful, intervention becomes fruitful, the activities is known as justified. Even if intervention is illegal, some interventions are said to be useful. Intervention in the international affair, if illegal, may be good or may be useful in certain cases. You know, intervention and mediation and interposition are three different terms and concepts in international politics. The purpose of intervention is to, why there is intervention, why mighty states intervene in the affairs, internal affairs of a poor state. It is because the purpose of intervention is to maintain the balance of power. the interests of humanity, and the maintenance of ideological solidarity. Three causes. Due to three reasons, there are sometimes intervention. One is balance of power. When a poor state emerges as a powerful state in the international affairs, the mighty nations, out of jealous, intervenes in the affairs of that newly emerged powerful state in order to maintain the balance of power. क्षमतार जो भारसाम्य, क्षमतार जो समानता रक्षा हवा कथा, सेटा जदि बाधा प्राप्त होउची ताहले गोटिए शक्तिशाली राष्ट्र पाखरे राइट अधिकार रहउची, सेल्फ डिक्लेयर्ड राइट. इंटरनेशनल सोसाइटी, international law never permits any type of intervention. Still, the mighty nations, in order to maintain the balance of power, very often advocate that the right to intervention is it has its right to intervene in the affair of another sovereign state. Another cause is interest of humanity, where there is the violation of human rights. The mighty states, in order to protect the process of human rights, may intervene in the affairs of a poor nation which violates human rights. Another is maintenance of ideological solidarity. Soviet Russia is a state of leftist ideological background. You know, communism is the ideology of Soviet Union. So also the democratic liberalism, democratic socialism is the ideological basis of United States of America. Both Soviet Russia and United States of America, in order to expand their ideological background, very often intervene in the different states as it is known from the international politics. The motive of intervention is political rather than legal. It means that एक कथर बुझा पड़ुची जे आंतर्जातिक न्याय, आंतर्जातिक आईन जदियो एभली इंटरवेंशन को लीगल बोली कहू ना, इलीगल बोली कहूची, तथापि जेतेबेले इंटरवेंशन घटना गुड़िक क्रमश घटी चली, एभली इंटरवेंशन को आईनगत कह जाऊ नाही, या को कह जाउची राजनैतिक उद्देश्य. तेणु intervention is illegal but political. Humanitarian intervention, whenever government of a state violates human rights, there can be intervention. The background of intervention, the reasons of intervention. The, you know, that is so as it is an illegal concept, intervention had no unanimous meaning. Throughout the world, there is no consensus in the meaning of intervention. The Swiss jurist D. Vattel, in his work Droit des gens, published in 1758 ख्रीष्टाब्दे, स्विट्जरलैंड प्रख्यात आईनी विशेषज्ञ निजर डॉक्टर भाटेल निजर ड्रोइट डेस जेन्स पुस्तिका ए संपर्क प्रथम सूचना देथिले जे इंटरवेंशन भली एक इंटरनेशनल कांसेप्ट अछि सेबेठारु आंतर्जातिक घटनावली रे इंटरवेंशन गोटिए concept हेकी रहिछि though it is controversial there is no unanimous meaning unanimous acceptable concept acceptable imposition of intervention is only unilateral advocated reasonable work reasonable step of a mighty nation over a poor nation. So the concept originated in 1758 1758 रे एभଳି ଏକ concept ର ସୃଷ୍ଟି ହେଇଥିଲା. There are three types of intervention, you know, internal intervention, another is punitive intervention, third one is external military intervention. Three types of intervention. One is internal intervention. Internal intervention refers to the in order to resolve the dispute in a state arising in a state, the mighty state, the mightier state has the right to intervene in the affairs of the disputed state through constitutional means. Internal intervention refers to the constitutional intervention. Constitutional means the effort of a mighty state to change the government of a disputed state through constitutional means. गोटे राष्ट्र जोठी मात्राधिक विवाद सृष्टि होची से राष्ट्र रे शासन संवैधानिक उपाय रे परिवर्तन करिया पई गोटे शक्तिशाली राष्ट्र से राष्ट्र कार्यावली रे हस्तक्षेप कले ताकू इंटरनल इंटरवेंशन बोली कहा जाउछ. Second type of intervention called the punitive intervention. Punitive intervention means the punitive measures adopted by one state against another to enforce the observance of treaty engagements or the redress of illegal wrongs. Such interventions occurred with the considerable frequency throughout 19th century. 19th शताब्दी रे एभली प्यूनिटिव इंटरवेंशन बारंबार देखा देइथला समग्र विश्व रे. गोटे राष्ट्र जेतेबेले आंतर्जातिक चुक्तिनामा को असम्मान प्रदर्शन करे भायोलेट करे सेतेबेले से राष्ट्र विरोध रे इकोनॉमिक ब्लॉकेड प्यूनिटिव अर्थ punishment like measures. Punitive measures means punishment measures. Punishment measures refers to economic blockade, economic sanction. ये सब को कहा जाउची punitive measures. आर्थिक अवरोध करा जाई से राष्ट्र को दंडित करा जिबाटा होची punitive intervention. A third one is external intervention. It is military invasion. Direct military intervention relates to external intervention. Monroe Doctrine, the great powers frequently have the right to intervene. विशेषकर सोवियत रूसिया एवं अमेरिका 20 शताब्दी रे विभिन्न राष्ट्र रे हस्तक्षेप करथिले. Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan are the bright examples of international intervention. Very bright. Now America is ruling over Afghanistan. It is the bright example of intervention. The motive of the intervention is, political rather than legal. It is not approved by the international society, not approved by the international law, not approved by the international justice. It is illegal, but from the political angle, the intervention is said to be justified. There are a number of examples in your book. There are the examples laid down how many interventions are there throughout the world in the from the 18th century till 21st century. USA, USSR, United Kingdom, France, Portugal, North Vietnam, Japan, Syria, Belgium, Egypt, Finland, Germany, Italy, Russia, both have intervened several times over other states. Intervention since Second World War, after Second World War, there was Korean War. It is due to international intervention. There was also Suez crisis. It is also due to international intervention. Cuban Missile Crisis was due to international intervention. Now Vietnam War occurred due to international intervention. America had to lose that war in the Vietnam War. Soviet intervention in Czechoslovakia, Afghanistan crisis, both Gulf War, American attack over Iraq. All these events are one examples of international intervention. So intervention is a very important concept of international affairs and international politics.
हेलो हेलो
हेलो
सर
हाँ
ये असाइनमेंट क्यों पेपर रे लिखले हेबो की
it is after the teaching session is over, you may ask, you have any doubt regarding the syllabus, the studies, and regarding your examination. Now you should learn what is being imparted you the teaching. You shall provide an opportunity to ask your problems and doubts after teaching is over. Okay?
ओके सर
Unit 20, next unit 20, nuclear proliferation. It is very important also. Nuclear, nuclear means atomic power. Today's world is the world of nuclear power. The spread of nuclear weapon has been considered a grave threat to security of the world at large today. Every nation has a desire to be a nuclear power. Every nation has a desire to be a nuclear power. But nuclear power is not a very acceptable phenomenon in the international society from the security angle. Nuclear proliferation means expansion of nuclear power, nuclear capability. Expansion of proliferation means expansion of nucleus capability. गोटे राष्ट्र आणविक क्षमता संपन्न हवा घटना को आणविक प्रसारण बोली कहा जाउछि. Proliferation means expansion. Why the states desire to be a nuclear state? Because they want their to build their capability. The causes to be nuclear power, to have international status. A state when becomes nuclear power have a special status in the international affairs, in the international politics, in the international relations. A state is regarded more with more weightage if it acquires nuclear power. Another cause is domestic political requirements or political pressure. If there is domestic internal political pressure, the state achieves nuclear power. Sometimes there is a need of atomic or nuclear power to be held, because nuclear power has also peaceful use, non-military use. Nuclear power has many more good side, but from military point of view, nuclear power is not a favorable factor from the international security angle. Sometimes possession of a weapon of last resort in order to tackle a nuclear power state, an atomic power state, another state must have to possess nuclear power. गोटिए आणविक शक्ति संपन्न राष्ट्र सह विवाद र सम्मुखीन हवा पाई अन्य राष्ट्र को आणविक शक्ति हासिल करने को पड़िबो. That is the last resort. Another cause is bargain or leverage over the developed nations. You know, entire world is divided into two groups of nations from the economic point of view. One is developed, another is developing. If one developing state acquires nuclear power, then it achieves the bargaining power. To bargain means to gain something for its national interest from the developed nations. So for these causes, the states very often want to be nuclear power, but from the security angle, as it is seen, it is not a good one for the international, for the peace and the tranquility of the international society. The political component of the system operates at two levels. One, international pressure on the country to desist from going nuclear, and two, to provide various incentives, and these incentives to countries the technical element of non-proliferation seeks to either deny the critical technical assets to a country that seeks to embark on nuclear program, or to make these assets available under a safeguard system. Nuclear proliferation, as it is said, is not good for the international society, international peace, for the international peace and security. आंतर्जातिक शांति पाई, समग्र विश्वर निरापत्ता पाई आणविक संप्रसारण को एक विपद भाव में विवेचना करा जायछि. So that there is the thought process, there was the endeavor to check the proliferation of nuclear power, to check the proliferation of आणविक प्रसारण को रोकिबा पाई उद्यम आरंभ है आंतर्जातिक. That is called non-proliferation movement. Proliferation non-proliferation. Proliferation means samprasarana. Proliferation directly relates to nuclear power. आणविक अस्त्रर क्षमता हासिल करने को आणविक प्रसारण बोली कहगला। ये प्रसारणटा समग्र विश्व पाई एक बड़ विपद भाव जितेबाला विवेचना करागला। यू नो व्हेन अमेरिका फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम इन द annals of history वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री समग्र विश्व रे प्रथम थर पाई अमेरिका जितेबाला जापान रो हिरोशिमा और नागासाकी उपरे आणविक बोमा निक्षेप कला समग्र विश्ववासी आणविक बोमार छोटिया आणविक बोमार विभीषिका कौन है पारे ताकू प्रैक्टिकली अनुभव कले। तेणु जो राष्ट्र आणविक क्षमतार अधिकारी है सारी आउ नूतन राष्ट्र आणविक अस्त्र शस्त्र आणविक क्षमतार अधिकारी न हुंतु सेथिपाई समग्र विश्वव्यापी उद्यम आरंभ हैला। दैट इज नोन एज द इवोल्यूशन ऑफ नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन पॉलिसी इन द इंटरनेशनल सोसाइटी। नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन न्यूक्लियर नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन पॉलिसी it emerged through 4 main stages. The post-war phase that was characterized by secrecy and efforts to retain monopolistic control on the part of the United States as the sole nuclear weapons power in the world. द्वितीय विश्वयुद्ध परवर्ती विश्व रे अमेरिका सर्वप्रथमे आणविक क्षमतार अधिकारी होता। You know the rival state of America is USSR. USSR soon acquired nuclear capability. अमेरिका को मुकाबला करने सोवियत रूसिया खूब शीघ्र अमेरिका परे परे विशेष करी after Second World War, Soviet Russia also could achieve nuclear capability. And thereafter, the liberal policy ushered by President Eisenhower, American President Eisenhower, सी जने लिबरल उदारवादी राष्ट्रपति भाव में परिचित थे। से ही प्रथम 1953 मसीह आणविक अस्त्रर प्रसारण को रोकिबा दिगरे प्रथमे उद्यम आरंभ करथिले। दैट वाज द बेसिस जेनेसिस ऑफ न्यूक्लियर नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन पॉलिसी। न्यूक्लियर नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन पॉलिसी इन द ईयर 1950 फ्रॉम द अमेरिकन लिबरल प्रेसिडेंट Eisenhower. The policy of controls through safeguards came to be sponsored by nuclear weapon powers. Safeguard by the technical element in non-proliferation seeks to either deny the critical technical assets. केमती proliferation रोका जीवो दुईटा बाटरे। One is to deny the critical technical assets to a country that seeks to embark on a nuclear program. जो नुआ राष्ट्र आणविक क्षमतार अधिकारी हवा पाई उद्यम करुची ताकू जदि वैषयिक सहायता वैषयिक उपकरण जोगाण करा न जाए ताहले से आणविक अस्त्रर अधिकारी आणविक क्षमतार अधिकारी होई परिबने। वन another process is to make these assets available under a safeguard system. आंतर्जातिक समुदाय को निश्चित होबाकू पड़िबो जो नूतन राष्ट्र आणविक क्षमतार अधिकारी होबाकू जाउची से राष्ट्र एक भरोसा योग्य विश्वास योग्य एवं से राष्ट्र हाथ रे आणविक क्षमता सुरक्षित सेफगार्ड एतिकी हेले जाएगी आणविक संप्रसारण रोका जाई पारियो. The political component of system operates at two levels. One, international pressure on the countries to desist from going nuclear. गोटे बाटरे आणविक प्रसारण को किभଳି रोका जाई पारियो. प्रथम बाट होची जे आंतर्जातिक स्तर रे चाप प्रयोग करा जिवो जे आणविक अस्त्र आणविक क्षमता तुम्हें हासिल करना किभଳି थ्रू प्रोवाइडिंग वेरियस इंसेंटिव एंड डिसइंसेंटिव्स टू कंट्रीज टू डिस्यूड फ्रॉम गोइंग न्यूक्लियर. जो राष्ट्र आणविक क्षमता हासिल करने को चाहूँगी ताकू विभिन्न उपाय रे इंसेंटिव सहयोगिता एवं ताकू विभिन्न उपाय रे तार आवश्यकता पूर्ण करने द्वारा ताकू मना जाई परिगो not to be a nuclear power. The political component adds on the technical component in providing a political solution. Previous process ta NPT पाई non proliferation policy पाई previous थिला technical process. The latter one is political component. Political component means through providing various incentives. पूर्वटा थिला टेक्निकल प्रोसेस टू प्रिवेंट a state to be a nuclear state. The latter process is a political process, political method to prevent a state to be a nuclear state. The non-proliferation, you know, after Second World War, the monopoly of United States of America ended soon after when Soviet Russia acquired nuclear power, became nuclear state, and thereafter there was the slogan that atom for peace. अर्थात समग्र विश्व से स्लोगान दिया गला जे 1953 मसीहा ठारू आरंभ है आणविक क्षमता को सुरक्षित भाव में रखा एवं आदौ ताकू प्रोलिफरेशन होगा को दिया ना. thereafter both Soviet Russia and United States of America signed different treaties to non-proliferate nuclear. ता परवर्ती समय उभय अमेरिका एवं रूसिया विभिन्न चुक्ति संपादित करथिले आणविक अस्त्रर आउ प्रसारण न होवा पाई. In the year 1956-57, the Atoms for Peace program created IAEA, International Agency for Peaceful Energy, Atomic Energy Authority. Thereafter, in the year 1963, there was partial test ban treaty was signed. In the year 1974, the threshold test ban treaty was signed. In the year 1976, peaceful nuclear explosion treaty was signed. In 1996, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, CTBT. In the year 1963, there was a partial test ban treaty. It prohibits nuclear explosion for military and non-military purpose in the atmosphere. आणविक अस्त्र परीक्षा पाई आदौ वायुमंडल को व्यवहार करा जाई पारिबो नाही बोली जो चुक्तिनामा स्वाक्षरित हेइथिला अमेरिका रूसिया भितरे सेटा थिला 1963 रो पार्शियल टेस्ट ban treaty partial test ban treaty thereafter there was threshold test ban treaty means it was signed between US and USSR अमेरिका रूसिया भितर एभली एक चुक्ति स्वाक्षरित तार शर्त थिला 150 kilotons more than 150 kiloton atomic explosion cannot be allowed. It is known as threshold test ban treaty. Then in the year 1976 there was a peaceful nuclear explosion treaty. I had already told you that nuclear power has also peaceful use. विद्युत उत्पादन पाई हो चिकित्सा विज्ञान रे सहायता पाई हो विभिन्न अणसामरिक बा शांतिपूर्ण कार्य पाई आणविक क्षमतार उपयोग मध्य करा जाय परिबो दैट इज कॉल्ड पीसफुल यूज ऑफ से पीसफुल यूज पाई आणविक क्षमता बा आणविक एक्सप्लोजन करा जाय परिबो बोली गोटे चुक्तिनामा अमेरिका रूसिया भितरे 1976 मसिया रे हेतला thereafter in the year 1996 there was nuclear comprehensive test ban treaty. It was there to complete deterrence, nuclear deterrence. Nuclear deterrence means आदौ प्रसारण करा जाय परिबो नाही. Thereafter in the year 1969 there was ABM. In the year 1972 SALT, there was SALT treaty. In the year 1987 there was International Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. In the year 1991 there was START, reduction of strategic arms between US and USSR, and you know there was NPT, Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, is an multilateral treaty in the international society. There is a NPT and India is not a party to that treaty because it had a sanction that those nuclear powers have the right to explode their nuclear expansion for their nuclear expansion. अर्थात NPT गोटे ट्रिटी थिला जोटा कि पृथ्वीर बहु आणविक क्षमता संपन्न राष्ट्र माने सेथिरे स्वाक्षर करिथिले एवं से चुक्ति रे शर्त थिला जे जो राष्ट्र माने आणविक क्षमतार अधिकारी हेइचंती से राष्ट्र माने आणविक परीक्षा सीमित भाव रे हेले भी करिया पई कोनसी बाधा नै, किंतु नूतन भाव रे बा नुआ करी आणविक अस्त्र हासिल करने उद्देश्य रे नुआ राष्ट्र माने आदौ आणविक विस्फोरण करि परिबे नाही निजर क्षमता हासिल करबा पई। एभली बाच विचार या होची गोटे डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी ट्रिटी थिला। जे क्षमतार अधिकारी हेची से ताकू एक्सप्लोजन करिवो, जे क्षमतार अधिकारी हेई नाही ता पई सुजोग नाही। इट वाज डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी बोली कही भारत से भली चुक्ति रे स्वाक्षर आजि जाके करी नाही. You know, in the year 1974, India exploded a nuclear bomb in the deep on the earth, and it was known as a nuclear power. So also in the 1998, India had 5 explosions in the earth, and it proved its nuclear capability. But showing the attitude of India, Pakistan did not sign because it told that the India is not signing. So I am also refraining myself to sign. As long as India is not a party to the treaty, I shall not be a party to. And you know, both India and Pakistan, Israel also, these new 3 have become nuclear capability states, nuclear states with having atomic bombs in their arsenals. In the developing countries, there is not much proliferation in the developing countries. India, Pakistan, Israel, Iran, these states are regarded as nuclear power holder states, but other third world and developing states have yet not achieved the capacity of nuclear power. So nuclear non-proliferation treaty, nuclear proliferation movement is the need of the hour, is the need for the international peace, security, and it should be implemented, it should be effected by the UNO, by the mighty states, by the nuclear power holder states, so that the longevity of the earth, the security of the world can be strengthened for the future generations. Next is unit 21, international terrorism. International terrorism. Unit 21 is in, you know, terrorism, the activities of terrorism has created the mankind, the existence of the very existence of mankind on earth. The entire world is concerned, very much concerned about the terrorist activities for the peace purpose, for the security purpose, and for the development purpose. You know, the term terrorism is derived from the Latin words terrere and deterrere. The word terror means to tremble, and the term deterrere implies to frighten. Thus, terrorism means to harm people so that they are so frightened that they start trembling. Means terrorism is a strategy by certain group of mad people, certain group of wayward people to achieve their objectives through systematic use of violence, through systematic use of violence. And the terrorists are very cruel and have no sympathy, have no humanity. and have no faith on the peace, and they have no faith on the constitutional process of a state. Terrorism is a non-state actor in international politics. At the present time, terrorism is a very burning activities throughout the world. It is not limited within the particular territorial area of a state. It is sporadic throughout the world. It has captured throughout the world. It has overcome throughout the world. But the world is facing the menace of terrorism and is also fighting to eradicate the activities of terrorists in a very well organized manner. Terrorism is a non-state actor in international politics. It is a strategy to achieve vowed objectives through the systematic use of violence, thereby undermining the lawful authority of a government or a state. କୌଣସି ସାମ୍ବିଧାନିକ ସରକାରଙ୍କ ଉପରେ ଟେରୋରିଜିମ୍ ବା ସନ୍ତ୍ରାସବାଦୀ ମାନଙ୍କର ଆଦୌ ଭରସା ବିଶ୍ୱାସ ନଥାଏ. Their only aim and objective is to create a very massive violence and bloodshed in order to create a heightened atmosphere in the society and also in the state. This may be in the name of a race, in the name of a caste, in the name of religion, and in the name of a area. There are two types of terrorism. One is cross border terrorism, another is international terrorism. On the basis of geographical operation of a terrorist group, the terrorism has been categorized as two types on the basis of geographical area of operation. The terrorism has been categorized into two types. One is cross-border terrorism. Another is international terrorism. Cross-border terrorism is that terrorists are trained in one country to operate in just one other country. गोटिए राष्ट्र रे से गुड़िक थ्राइव करुथुबे तांकू ट्रेनिंग दिया जाइथिबो सेही राष्ट्र रे टेरोरिस्ट एक्टिविटी करिवा पाई नुहे बॉर्डर क्रॉस करी अन्य राष्ट्र रे संत्रासवाद कार्यकलाप सृष्टि करिया पाई सेमानकू तालीम दिया जाइथिबो एभली टेररिज्म को क्रॉस बॉर्डर टेररिज्म. You know, such type of terrorist groups are now present in India in different parts of the world. People's War Group, PWG, in Nepal, Maoist group in Nepal, Irish Republican Army in UK are some of the examples of cross-border terrorism. Besides that, Khalistan movement, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Toiba are also examples of cross-border terrorism. The international terrorism has its victims in several countries. It has no border. It has no particular place of operation. It spreads throughout the world, so that it is called international terrorism. Hamas, Al Qaeda are the bright examples of international terrorism. It has no particular place of operation. It has no particular area of operation. Its activities, the terrorist activities, spreads throughout the world. So it is called international terrorism. How terrorists are viewed in order to judge the terrorism activity of different terrorist organizations, there are several approaches. The approaches are liberal approach, conservative approach, and realist approach. There are three approaches. One is liberal approach. Liberal approach refers to terrorism is a response to economic, social, and political deprivation as well as bad government. When there is a discrimination.
हेलो सर
Hello,
हेलो सर सर स्लाइड टा शो करूने सर टिके देखंतु ना सर प्लीज
सेट तो अच्छी जेमती डिस्प्ले हवा कथा आरंभ रु सेमती डिस्प्ले होउची मोर लैपटॉप रे तो क्या देखा जाउनी सार सार अछंती आसिला आसिला की हेलो हेलो okay we shall continue. Sir will send you in WhatsApp or through email the slide I have prepared later on. This time we shall continue in our course. Liberal approach refers to terrorism is a response to economic, social, and political deprivation as well as bad government. Where there is bad governance, there is discriminatory governance in a state in terms of economy, in terms of social, in terms of political activities. The discrimination of the government towards a group of citizens, that group always react and resort to the violence activity that is called terrorism. Liberal approach, उदारवादी चिंताधारा अर्थ होउची गोटे राष्ट्र रे पक्षपातपूर्ण शासन व्यवस्था, आर्थिक पक्षपात, सामाजिक पक्षपात, राजनैतिक पक्षपात शिकार होइथिबा गोष्ठी से राष्ट्रर संविधानिक सरकार विरोध रे संत्रासवाद कार्य चलई थांती जाहाकु कहा जाए liberal approach to terrorism. Another approach is there that is called conservative attitude, conservative attribute, conservative approach. Conservative attribute of terrorism is that it puts natural stress and strains of nation building. When class, castes, religious and linguistic groups of a state may find difficult to adjust under a new government and new laws, it turn organized violence. गोटे राष्ट्र रे जते शासन परिवर्तन हुए नूतन शासकंकर जो चारित्रिक कार्यकलाप सहित गोटे गोष्ठी निजको एडजस्ट कर न पारी हिंसात्मक कार्यकलाप चलैले ताकू कंजर्वेटिव एटीट्यूड बोली कहा जाए, कंजर्वेटिव अप्रोच बोली कहा जाए. The realist, there is also realist approach. Realist approach believes for power. It attributes terrorism to the struggle for power. क्षमता केवल क्षमता हासिल पाई जोठी संत्रासवाद को हिंसा को माध्यम करा जाए सेतेबेले ताकू रियलिस्ट अप्रोच बोली कहा जाए, which as Morgan has said is the essence of international politics. It is seen very often विभिन्न समय रे विश्व इतिहास रे आरंभ रु आज पर्यंत विभिन्न समय रे क्षमता पाई संत्रासवाद क्षमता पाई हिंसा जुगे जुगे लगी आसी. दैट इज कॉल्ड रियलिस्ट अप्रोच. motives of the terrorist group is to achieve political objectives. Only motive why the terrorists engage in violence, the motive is to achieve political objectives. In order to achieve political objectives, the terrorist groups engage in violence. And method is violence. Through violence, through use of power, through bloodshed, they want to achieve their political goal. And various forms of terrorism, guerrilla warfare, one form of terrorism, suicide squads, आत्मघाती बाहिनी निजे मरिवे व्यापक हिंसा घटिव व्यापक धन जीवन हानि घटिव. दैट इज कॉल्ड सुसाइड मेथड ऑफ टेररिज्म. स्टेट स्पॉन्सर्ड टेररिज्म राष्ट्र प्रायोजित संत्रासवाद. आज the now you can see in Pakistan the Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed are the terrorist groups which are trained by Pakistan in order to create violence in India. That is called state-sponsored terrorism. And in order to put an end, you know, in early 90s, there was a civil war in Sri Lanka. The Tamils in Sri Lanka felt insecure and resorted to violence, a long-standing violence to achieve a political goal named freedom of the Tamils in Sri Lanka. Freedom in their language is Elam. One terrorist organization was created in the name of LTTE, Liberation of Tigers of Tamil Elam. Elam means independent statehood. Independent statehood means to divide Sri Lanka, one Tamil state, स्वतंत्र तमिल राष्ट्र श्रीलंका रे सृष्टि हब जा द्वारा सिंघली मानक द्वारा शासित श्रीलंका सरकार द्वारा तमिल माने आउ पक्षपातर शिकार हेबे नहीं. सेतिपाई LTTE one terrorist group in Sri Lanka engaged in civil war in Sri Lanka in early 90s. You could know the methods, suicide squads, terrorist groups and organizations. You could know Hamas in Palestine, Al Qaeda throughout the world, particularly in Gulf area, Central Asia, Khalistan movement in India, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Toiba, all are terrorist organizations in the world, and their objective is to only to create violence and to disturb the constitutional government of the state in order to achieve their and their master's political goal. There is a big terrorist organization that is known as Al Qaeda. It has its network throughout the world, and it was created in 11th September 2001. It was came to known when it attacked the World Trade Center in New York, and its leader was Saudi dissident Osama bin Laden. He was killed by America. Still then, it is operating. It has its presence, strong presence throughout the world, and is creating time and again bloodshed, violence in the world. Global fight against terrorism. You know, almost all states of the world are now facing the menace of terrorism. The peace process, the developmental process is now hampered by the activities of terrorist groups. You know, in Afghanistan, the Taliban are not allowing the Afghanistan's development, and the terrorism should be combated by the nations as a whole, individually and collectively, so that the entire world is now expressing its unanimous effort and coalition activities to fight against the course of terrorism, to ensure world peace, tranquility, and security. The UNO is leading in this role. It has adopted a resolution in the year 2001, 2001 रे मिलित जातिसंघ निरापत्ता परिषद रे रिजोल्यूशन नंबर 1373 रे गोटे प्रस्ताव ग्रहण करथिला। सबु दृष्टिरू संत्रासवाद, संत्रासवादी संगठन, संत्रासवादी को समर्थन करुवा प्रत्येक शक्ति को समग्र विश्व रे मुकाबिला करिया पय राष्ट्र माने एकताबद्ध हेबे एवं परस्पर सहयोगिता भितरे सहयोगिता माध्यम रे संत्रासवाद को प्रतिहत करिवे। सेबेठारु समग्र विश्व रे संत्रासवाद को मिलित भाव रे विश्वर राष्ट्र समूह सम्मुखीन होउचंती, विरोध करूचंती एवं मुकाबिला मध्य करूचंती। दैट इज ऑल रिगार्डिंग terrorism, international terrorism, cross-border terrorism. We shall go to next unit, unit 22, role of science and technology in international relations. Role of science and technology in international relations. You know, present day is the age of science and technology. The great industrial revolution in early 18th, 16th century witnessed the revolution in the field of industry, means there was the advent of the use of science and technology to foster the progress of the states, the progress in the field of economic activities, the progress in the field of industrial activities, the progress in the field of military weapons production capability. There was a systematic change in the world politics due to the increasing influence of science and technology, and it is characterizing also the international relations. New technology also affected the structure of the state system. The science and technology affects the structure of the state system. You know, since 17th century, a series of discoveries had accelerated the progress of science and technology. The states have several expeditions to moon. ଚନ୍ଦ୍ରକୁ ବହୁବାର ମନୁଷ୍ୟ ଅଭିଯାନ କରିସାରିଛି। ନୂଆ କରି ସୃଷ୍ଟି ହେଇଛି MNC, multinational corporation, due to the communication technology explosion. The scientific age began in 16th and 17th century in Europe, and it spread to the world overall soon, and the advent of satellites and digital technology, the speed and the capacity of the communication has outpaced our expectations. Satellites have transformed communications both within and between nations. The cost of the communication services is no longer related to distance and terrain. Digital technologies, on the other hand, have virtually eliminated the technological distinction between voice, text, data, and video services. The convergence of these communication and digital technologies, resulting in the rapid spread of electronic networks, is appropriately designated information revolution. It is known as information revolution. To draw the parallel with the industrial revolution in its expected significance of human affairs. By the turn of 19th century, the United States began to overtake Europe in technological innovations, leading the world in converting from coal to oil and from horse-drawn transportation to motor vehicles. New technical innovations from electricity to airplanes also helped push the US economy into a dominant world position. The springs of innovation did not dry in Europe. Many important inventions of the 20th century originated in Europe. Great Britain, France, Germany are the leading European nations which spread science and technology to a remarkable position. So, entire world could experience the role of science and technology in their pace of development, pace of economic activities, and in military outputs also. So the trend in the evolution of science and technology could affect the structure of the state system, with technological innovations coming to have a bearing on economic and military strength of a nation. The economic capability and military strength of a nation could increase very remarkably due to the role of science, due to the application of science and technology. As the mighty nations are regarded mighty not in terms of only military, but in terms of their technology capability, but in terms of their economic capability. गोटे राष्ट्र को शक्तिशाली तीनोटी दिगरु कहा जाउछि. गोटे होउछि आर्थिक दृष्टि शक्तिशाली, द्वितीयटी होउछि साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी दृष्टि शक्तिशाली, और सर्वोपरि तृतीयटी होउछि सामरिक दृष्टि शक्तिशाली. तीनोटी दृष्टि जदि गोटे राष्ट्र शक्ति संपन्न अच्छी ताहले से राष्ट्र को गोटे शक्तिशाली राष्ट्र भाव कह. From military point of view, from economic point of view, and from science and technological, ultra modern technological know-how point of दृष्टि भी हो. ये तीनोटी दृष्टि राष्ट्र को एक शक्ति संपन्न महाशक्ति संपन्न राष्ट्र बोली कहा जाउछि. यही शक्ति बढ़िया सहित राष्ट्र नुआ करी एक्टर आसुचंती इंटरनेशनल अफेयर्स. These actors are known as multinational corporations. Another important actor in international affairs or activities is the rise of NGO, non-government organizations. One is multinational corporations, another is non-government organizations. These two actors are contributing a lot to change the scenario of relationship, the nature and characteristic of international relationship among nations, and the relation of a state with international organizations. Due to the increase of science and technology, the entire world also is divided into two categories of nations. One is advanced nations having ultra modern technology. Other nations, known as third world countries, they are less advanced. They have the primitive method of science and technology, and they are in far behind from the advanced nations, so that like economic point of view, from the economic point of view, the states, as there are two types, one is developed, another is developing. So also from science and technology point of view, the states are also divided into two groups. One is developed with ultra modern technology. Another group of states are known as less or developing states with less technological background. So the international relation also affected with the use of science and technology, because the science and technology have accelerated the industrialization process, and due to industrialization process, the states have built their economic basis to a stronger position, and the developing nations are far behind the this type of states. You know, the MNC means multinational corporations. Multinational corporation, it refers to those industrial entrepreneur corporations which have their industrial establishments throughout the world and in several states. गोटे औद्योगिक कॉर्पोरेशन जेतेबेले विश्वर विभिन्न राष्ट्र रे निजर कल कारखाना स्थापन करे ताहाको मल्टीनेशनल कॉर्पोरेशन बोली कहा जाए। बहुराष्ट्रीय कंपनी अर्थात बहुत राष्ट्र रे एकाधिक राष्ट्र रे निजर शिल्प और कल कारखाना स्थापन करिवार व्यवस्था को बहुराष्ट्रीय कॉर्पोरेशन बोली कहा जाए। बहुराष्ट्रीय कॉर्पोरेशन मालिक होउचंती धनी राष्ट्र माने बा विकसित। द डेवलप्ड स्टेट्स आर द ओनली द ओनर्स ऑफ MNC multinational corporations. The multinational corporations in their entrepreneurs, in their established military industrial establishments have invested huge FDI. गोटे बृहत शिल्प कल कारखाना प्रतिष्ठा करागले निश्चित भाव रे विपुल परिमाणर पुंजी निवेश करा जिवार आवश्यकता अछि। विपुल परिमाणर अल्ट्रा मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी यूटिलाइज करा जिवार आवश्यकता अछि। त्या द्वारा से इंडस्ट्रियल इस्टाब्लिशमेंट रु अल्ट्रा मॉडर्न आउटपुट संभव हुए। वेरी क्वालिटेटिव और लेस प्राइस रे वेरी क्वालिटेटिव आउटपुट संभव हुए। अर्थात गोटे शिल्प कारखाना रे जते बेले विपुल पुंजी निवेश हुए, अत्याधुनिक ज्ञान कौशल उपयोग हुए, से कल कारखाना रु अति आधुनिक सस्ता एवं सुलभ अति आधुनिक क्षमता संपन्न आउटपुट इंडस्ट्रियल आउटपुट प्रोडक्शन हुए, जार प्रतियोगिता अन्यान्य इंडस्ट्रियल हाउसेस करि पारंती नाही। कारण से मान पाखरे से भली स्तरर ज्ञान कौशल न थाए किंबा से मान पाखरे आवश्यक पुंजी न थाए प्रतियोगिता करिया पे। तेणु मल्टीनेशनल कॉर्पोरेशन माध्यम रे धनिक राष्ट्र माने विकसित राष्ट्र माने गरीब राष्ट्र को एक प्रकार आर्थिक नियंत्रण रे रखि था। बिकॉज द पोर स्टेट्स are dependent on the multinational corporations for their revenue collection. से मानकर आर्थिक स्वार्थ केवल MNC द्वारा पूर्ण होथुवारु गरीब राष्ट्र जोठी मल्टीनेशनल कॉर्पोरेशंस माने से मानकर शिल्प कल कारखाना प्रतिष्ठा करछंती ता माध्यम रे से सब राष्ट्र अर्थनीति को निज नियंत्रण रखले। किए रखले? वास्तव में रखले धनिक राष्ट्र माने थ्रू MNC। इट इज today known as new form of colonialism, though not political. It is economical, it is technological. Technological colonialism, economic colonialism is rampant in the 2 days at the present world, scenario. It is affecting the individual states, it is affecting the group of states, it is affecting the relations among the states also. And you know, not only in the field of industrialization, in the military affairs also, there is the impact of science and technology, the ultra modern weapons produced by the developed states are very much ahead of the developing states. The developing states are always dependent, the theory of dependencia. The developing states are always depending on developed states for their military need, for their financial economic need, for their technological need. Three types of need: military need, economic need, and technological need. ये तीनटा नीड पाई तीनोटी आवश्यकता पाई गरीब राष्ट्र माने धनिक राष्ट्र निकटरे सदा सर्वदा निर्भरशील होबाकू बाध्य. It is the order of the present world order. So the theory of dependencia in the 18th century, when colonialization process started, and at the present time there is also the new form of dependencia, the new form of colonialism, neo-colonialism, not political colonialism, it is economic and technological colonialism persisting in the world today. Due to the technological change in the world, there is the erosion of state sovereignty. The sovereignty of a state cannot be assertive in the present world order. The states must have to compromise its opinion, independent opinion, due to fulfillment of its economic, technological, and military need. It is now compelled to compromise its own sovereignty. Sovereignty means own independent opinion. Expression of own independent opinion is not possible at all today on the part of a poor state, because there is the hamper of relationship, goodwill relationship of a poor state with the technically military point of view advanced nation सहित तार जो सुसंपर्क काले बाधा प्राप्त होबो सेति पई निजर स्वाधीन निरपेक्ष मत उपस्थापन रे आजिर दिन रे गरीब राष्ट्र माने सक्षम हे पारुनांती. दैट इज कॉल्ड लॉस ऑफ sovereignty. Sovereignty not from political angle, it is from the national interest angle. The poor states are dependent, the poor states are not expressing their own independent opinion in the international organizations and in the international affairs also. This is called the erosion of state sovereignty. Next unit is unit 23, inequality among nations. Equality, inequality. The disparities, the disparity factors among nations. The disparity, you know, there are several disparities among nations in the world today. It is very clear from the economic point of view, from the military point of view, from the technological point of view. The states are divided into two categories. One, a few. One group is a few, খুব ହାତଗଣତି ଅଳ୍ପ ସଂଖ୍ୟକ developed states. ଅତି ବିକଶିତ ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ର ସମୂହଙ୍କ ସଂଖ୍ୟା ସ୍ୱଳ୍ପ ହେଲେ ବି ସେ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଷ୍ଠୀ। ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଷ୍ଠୀ ବିକାଶଶୀଳ ବା ବିକାଶୋନ୍ମୁଖୀ developing or poor states, particularly known as third world countries. In the poor states, the citizens face extreme poverty and lack of standard of amenities needed for a smooth livelihood, smooth life. The high income inequality, income means national income. Income refers to national income. Also, income refers to the individual or per capita income. मुंड पिछा आय गोटे राष्ट्र रे केते ताकु कहा जाए per capita income. धनिक राष्ट्र रे मुंड पिछा आय, गरीब राष्ट्र रे जनसाधारण मुंड पिछा आय भितर थिया पार्थक्य, जातीय आय नेशनल इनकम भितर थिया पार्थक्य, फॉरेन रिजर्व रेशियो भितर थिया पार्थक्य एवं राष्ट्रर जनसाधारण दारिद्र्यता, स्टैंडर्ड जीवन धारण पाई आवश्यक सुविधा सुजोग अभाव को आधार करी राष्ट्र गुड़ी को दी भाग विभक्त कराई। गोटे हूँ गरीब राष्ट्र आ गोटे हूँ धनिक राष्ट्र। इक्वालिटी इज नॉट दी सेम एज पॉवर्टी, इनइक्वालिटी इज नॉट दी सेम एज पॉवर्टी, सॉरी, इनइक्वालिटी इज नॉट दी सेम एज पॉवर्टी. Poverty is concerned with absolute standard of living of a part of society that is poor. Inequality refers to relative living standard across the whole society. गरीब एवं आनुपातिक गरीब, गरीब अर्थ lack of minimum need, खाद्य नहीं, वस्त्र नहीं, बासगृह नहीं, एभली अभाव सम्मुखीन होता लोकन को बा एभली अभाव सम्मुखीन होता राष्ट्र को एक्यूट पॉवर्टी स्टेट बा एक्यूट पॉवर्टी पर्सन्स बोली कहलियो, अति दरिद्र राष्ट्र. किंतु अन्य दृष्टि कंपैरेटिवली पोर, धनिक राष्ट्रर व्यक्ति मानक निकट रे जो सुविधा सुजोग रही जीवन धारण मान अपेक्षाकृत कम धनिक राष्ट्र गुड़िकर जनसाधारण पाखरे से स्तर सुविधा सुजोग आ जीवन धारण मान नथिबारु तुलनात्मक भाव में धनिक आ गरीब राष्ट्र भाव में परिचित होचंती एभली प्रकार राष्ट्र. किछि राष्ट्र अछंती सेमानक पाखरे संबल अछि, रिसोर्स अछि, एमिनिटीज अछि, लाइवलीहुड अछि, बट कंपैरेटिवली relatively less from the developed, highest developed states, so that these states are also regarded as poor states, comparatively poor states. The two major approaches to measuring inequality among nations are one from currency rate conservations in assessing global income inequality and purchasing power parity PPP purchasing power parity लोकों पाखरे क्रय शक्ति केते अछि सेही राष्ट्र धनिक राष्ट्र जो राष्ट्रर जनसाधारण पाखरे पर्याप्त अर्थ अछि मन खोला परचेजिंग पावर अछि इच्छा जहाँ को कले आज किले दैट इज कॉल्ड परचेजिंग पावर पैरिटी कंपैरिजन से राष्ट्र जनसाधारण पाखरे क्रय शक्तिर क्षमता गरीब राष्ट्र जनसाधारण पाखरे क्रय क्षमता ए दृष्टि राष्ट्र भितर पार्थक्य देखा जाउछि आउ गोटे दृष्टि करेन्सी रेट कंजर्वेशन इन असेसिंग ग्लोबल इनकम गोटे राष्ट्र पाखरे केते रिजर्व फॉरेन रिजर्व रेशियो रही गोटे राष्ट्र जातीय आय केते गोटे राष्ट्र मुंड पिछा पर कैपिटा इनकम केते नेशनल इनकम केते फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व रेशियो केते एवं से राष्ट्र इकोनॉमिक स्टेबिलिटी केते से दृष्टि राष्ट्र राष्ट्र मध्य इक्वालिटी बा इनइक्वालिटी को जज करा जाउछि जे केते पार्थक्य अछि अमेरिका सबुठारु धनिक राष्ट्र अमेरिका तुलन में इंग्लैंड केते दूर धनिक अमेरिका तुलन में चीन केते दूर धनिक अमेरिका गोटे सबुठारु अधिक धनी राष्ट्र सहित सब बेले अन्य राष्ट्र को तुलना करा जाय ठीक जेबरी ह्यूमन सोसाइटी रे जणे सबुठारु अधिक धनिक व्यक्ति सहित अन्य व्यक्ति को आर्थिक दृष्टिकोण सब बेले तुलना करा जाय ठीक से भली समग्र विश्व व्यवस्था रे समग्र विश्व रे सबुठारु धनिक राष्ट्र भाव में परिचित अमेरिका सहित अन्य राष्ट्र को सब बेले तुलना करा जाउछि कारण पृथ्वी रे सबुठारु आर्थिक क्षमतार देश होउछि यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका so that other states are now being compared with America in terms of its economy from two angles. One is currency rate conservation in assessing global income inequality and another is purchasing power parity. These states are unequal approaches to measuring inequality. Two approaches we studied. One is currency rate conservations, another is purchasing power parity. Inequality and development, differing views. You know, where there is less economic capability, the development process is also less. Where there is, if a state has much more economic capability, much more affluent, then its development is much more faster and much more high. जो राष्ट्र पाखरे जेते आर्थिक क्षमता अछि टेक्नोलॉजिकल पावर अछि से राष्ट्र सेते विकसित एवं सेते द्रुत गति रे विकास गतिशील हो जो राष्ट्र रे अपेक्षाकृत कम अर्थ अछि अपेक्षाकृत कम स्टैंडर्ड रो ज्ञान कौशल अछि से राष्ट्र रे विकास रो धारा कम विकास रो मात्रा भी कम तेणु से राष्ट्र विकास सहित सब इनइक्वालिटी बा इकोनॉमिक कैपेबिलिटी जोड़ी होगी रही uneven major causes why there is inequality because uneven international economic system समग्र विश्वर अर्थव्यवस्था एक स्थिरीकृत दिगरे गति करू नाही. There is partiality. Some are exploitative. Some nations are exploitative, so that there is uneven international economic system which is causing inequality among nations. Another factor responsible for inequality is power game in international politics. Power game in international politics has affected much to bring an equal order of the states from economic point of view. The IMF, the World Bank also playing a dubious role in assisting the developing states, the third world countries, because these two institutional world financing institutions are within the control of developed nations. विकसित धनिक राष्ट्र मानक नियंत्रण रे इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड एवं वर्ल्ड बैंक रही थिबारु सेमानक स्वार्थ को दृष्टि रे रखी गरीब राष्ट्र को आर्थिक सहाय्य ये दुईटी आर्थिक संस्था व आर्थिक प्रतिष्ठान प्रदान करते. It is because the power game in international politics. It is because due to the power game politics in international scenario. Another factor leading to inequality is emerging labor markets and skill differentials. Labor market means the labor force of a state is known as the labor markets. Labor force of a state is always have a tendency to employment and income generation. Formal employment, if a state is not able to provide formal employment to labor force of its state, it will not achieve that economic standard of the nation, also standard of the people in rising towards the development pace of the developed nations. So job creation for the labor force is the another factor of disparity, another factor of inequality among the nations. Also skilled labor force, skilled labor force, both need employment. The resurgence of inequality is also manifested in the post-industrial evolution that is currently taking place. The income earners emerge in these scenario symbolic analysts, the producer generator of ideas, workers in the services sector, workers linked with the welfare sector, and workers in routine production jobs exposed to the dangers of factory relocations of sectoral restructuring so that the inequality is still persisting. Its effects, the effects of inequality is also very much visible in the world today. The debit crisis, the, the reverse flow of resources, the debit crisis of early 80s had deleterious effects with the reverse flow of resources from poor to rich nations and savage cutbacks in the volume of imports of the debt-ridden countries. This has been one of the major effects of the process of integration carried out in the 80s under circumstances of unsustainable finance in which wealth has flowed upwards from the poor countries to rich. एभली व्यवस्था सृष्टि हला जाद्वारा गरीब राष्ट्र ठारू अर्थ धनिक राष्ट्र पाखु फ्लो हला. That was due to brain drain, pitfalls of concentration of wealth, damaging the social fabrics are also factors responsible for inequality and its effects. Strategy to reduce inequality. कौन कले एभली inequality भली चरित्र को हमें विलोप करि परिया. एथिपाई हमकु there is a struggle. There should be a struggle on the planned basis and on the technical basis also. The poor countries are advised to implement pro-poor growth policies, improve poverty and social impact analysis, and amongst multilateral and bilateral development agencies. Efforts need to be carried out in the direction of aligning their programs with country-specific strategy. The UN Millennium Declaration has a target till 2015 to bring down the proportion of world people living in less than 1% a day. Second, with regard to the functioning of the labor markets, particularly in the developing countries, perhaps the single change that would do most to reduce global inequality over the medium term would be closing of the knowledge gap, giving people in developing countries access to new technology and quality education, so that taking these implementation into view, the inequality among the nations can be reduced to a new horizon, so that there shall be an egalitarian international order or world order from economic point of view. Thanks. We have completed 23 units today. Today we started from unit 18 to and completed the unit 23. 6 units we have completed today. Thank you all. All the learners are advised to ask their doubts if they have any in their understanding, and they may ask their problems also. Sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
concept of self-determination, sir, tar element guda sir kon rahi chi kahi diyantu ଟିକେ.
Concepts of self-determination refers to the independence of the nations which were the dependent or which were the control of foreign rule in the post industrialization war. द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध परे इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन शिल्प विप्लव परे समग्र विश्व रे उपनिवेशवाद जो सृष्टि होता उपनिवेशवाद अर्थ होची साम्राज्यवाद विपरीतटा होची उपनिवेशवाद साम्राज्यवाद अर्थ होची जो स्वाधीन राष्ट्र माने बलपूर्वक अन्य स्वाधीन राष्ट्र को पराधीन करी निज अधीन करी शासन कले शासित होउथवा राष्ट्र गुड़िक हेले कॉलोनी बा उपनिवेश जो राष्ट्र शासन कला से राष्ट्र को कहगला साम्राज्यवादी राष्ट्र गुड़ाए साम्राज्यवादी राष्ट्र कथा आम पढ़िले इंग्लैंड कुह फ्रांस कुह डच कुह पोर्तुगीज कुह एमाने सब होउछन्ती साम्राज्यवादी राष्ट्र एशिया आफ्रिकार बहु राष्ट्र को एमाने बलपूर्वक अख्तियार करी शासन कले आ भारत भली बहु उपनिवेश सब सृष्टि होते से पराधीन राष्ट्र गुड़िक जेतेबेले आत्मनिर्धारण अन्य राष्ट्र द्वारा निर्धारित होतला सेमानकर भविष्य एबे सेमाने चाहिले सेल्फ डिटर्मिनेशन मीन्स independence that is called self determination. Self determination refers to the independence of the erstwhile colonial states and to achieve their independence to free from the control of erstwhile imperialist states. That is called self-determination. Self-determination is otherwise means to win freedom. Self-determination means to win freedom. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Pranam.
Pranam.
Sir, what is the difference between liberals, conservatives, and realist terrorism?
Liberals Unit 21 International Terrorism. To understand the activity of terrorism, there are three approaches. One is liberal approach, another is conservative approach, third one is realist approach. Liberal approach refers to terrorism is a response to economic, social, and political deprivation as well as bad government. गोटे राष्ट्र रे सरकार जेते बेले जन विरोधी हुअंती आर्थिक दृष्टि सामाजिक दृष्टि एवं राजनीतिक दृष्टि सरकार जनसाधारण को शोषण करती सेतेबेले जनसाधारण हिंसात्मक पंथार आश्रय नियंती जहाकू कहा जाए one form of terrorism that is called liberal approach to terrorism. Another is conservative approach to terrorism. Conservative approach to terrorism refers to that type of terrorism when there is natural stress and strains of a nation building, when class, caste, religious and linguistic groups of a state may find it difficult to adjust under a new government. शासन परिवर्तन ହେଇଛି, ନୂଆ ସରକାର ଆସିଛନ୍ତି, କିନ୍ତୁ ନୂଆ ସରକାରଙ୍କର କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକଳାପ ସହ ସବୁ ସେଇ ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ରରେ ଥିବା ସବୁ ଶ୍ରେଣୀ, ସବୁ ଜାତି, ସବୁ ଧର୍ମ, ସବୁ ଭାଷାର ଲୋକେ ଆଡଜଷ୍ଟ କରି ନ ପାରି କିଛି ବ୍ୟତିବ୍ୟସ୍ତ ହେଇ ବା ଶୋଷିତ ହେଇ ନୂଆ ସରକାରଙ୍କ ବିରୋଧରେ ହିଂସାତ୍ମକ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକଳାପ ଆରମ୍ଭ କଲେ। ତାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ କନଜରଭେଟିଭ approach to terrorism. Third one is realist approach. Realist approach particularly refers to struggle for power. It is traditional approach. It is the essence of international politics. मॉर्गन जहाँ कहते जे जुग जुग धरी क्षमता हासिल पाए लड़ाई हिंसा सेटा को कहा जाउची रियलिस्ट अप्रोच. लिबरल अप्रोच टू टेररिज्म, कंजर्वेटिव अप्रोच टू टेररिज्म, रियलिस्ट अप्रोच टू टेररिज्म. Could you understand?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir, nuclear doctrine. Nuclear doctrine.
Clear होने.
Sir, nuclear doctrine.
Nuclear doctrine.
आज्ञा.
Nuclear doctrine. It refers to Unit 20 nuclear proliferation. Proliferation refers to the expansion of nuclear power. A new state when achieves or acquires nuclear capability, it is known as nuclear proliferation. You are telling about nuclear deterrence. Nuclear deterrence to deterrence कौचो ना doctrine कौचो.
Doctrine.
Nuclear doctrine to ना deterrence कौचो. कोड़े क्लियर.
Doctrine.
Doctrine. Nuclear doctrine means a common decision, a common opinion of an individual mighty state imposing upon another independent poverty-stricken state is called a doctrine. Doctrine means one's own attitude, one's own activities, one's own method of work, and the poverty state, poor state is bound to follow it. गोटिए राष्ट्रर ता निजस्व मतवाद, डॉक्ट्रिन मीन्स मतवाद, गोटिए राष्ट्रर निजस्व मतवाद को अन्य राष्ट्र उपरे लदी दबाटा को कहा जाए जे आंतर्जातिक मतवाद.
आज्ञा.
हेलो. आणविक क्षमता दृष्टि विश्वर शक्तिशाली आणविक संपन्न राष्ट्र माने मत पोषण करती जे କୌଣସି ନୂଆ ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ର ଆଣବିକ କ୍ଷମତାର ଅଧିକାରୀ ହେଲେ ବିଶ୍ୱ ନିରାପତ୍ତା ସଂକଟରେ ପଡ଼ିବ। The world security will be in danger if a new state acquires nuclear capability. So their opinion is that no further state will have the power of nuclear capability, and such type of proliferation expansion should be prevented individually and collectively by the nucleus states. That is called nuclear doctrine. Doctrine अर्थ होची मतवाद, कहार आणविक शक्ति संपन्न राष्ट्र मानकर मत। कि मत ना नुआ करी कौनसी राष्ट्र आणविक क्षमतार अधिकारी हो पारिबे नाही, अर्थात संप्रसारण को संपूर्ण भाव रे रोका जीवो। कहा द्वारा सेही आणविक क्षमतार अधिकारी थिबा राष्ट्र मानक द्वारा व्यक्तिगत भाव रे, सामूहिक भाव रे, इंडिविजुअली एंड कलेक्टिवली। दैट इज द ओपिनियन, दैट इज द डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ the nucleus power holder states of the world. That is called nuclear doctrine. Okay. Hello. Hello. Hello.
हेलो सर।
Hello. Hello.
हाँ
Okay.
सर। हेलो।
Hello.
हाँ
Okay.
ये असाइनमेंट पेपर के क्यों पेपर लिखले हो?
क्या
असाइनमेंट पेपर
असाइनमेंट पेपर का बारे में आप डायरेक्टर सर, असिस्टेंट डायरेक्टर सर को सवाल कीजिए, वो आपको आंसर देंगे, क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा वो एडवाइस देंगे। इसका बारे में सर आपको बोलेंगे। सब्जेक्ट का बारे में आप क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं, कोर्स का बारे में आप क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं। ओके
ओके सर।
नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, नेक्स्ट डाउट। I have already sent the slide to the assistant director sir. He will send you properly. It will help you in learning your each and every unit, and it will be also easy for you to learn. Hello. 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 Hello.
हेलो।
Hello.
हाँ सर,
हाँ
ये असाइनमेंट विषय रे तो केमती सर कांटेक्ट करि पारिबु किछि प्रश्न पाई असाइनमेंट विषय
असाइनमेंट क्वेश्चन आंसर
हाँ क्वेश्चन आउ को पेपर रे लिखिबो रोलिंग ना कि किछि
नहीं
पचारि
नहीं रोलिंग पेपर रे लिखा जाई परिवो, प्लेन A4 साइज पेपर रे लिखा जाई परिवो। बेटर हबो A4 साइज रे केवल वन साइड लिखिवो विथ ए
सर
मार्जिन।
सर
ताकू ताकू तुमे बुक लेट करिकरी ताकू
सर
सबमिट करि परिवो। हां
सर प्लेन पेपर भी चलिबो ना?
हां चलियो, प्लेन पेपर चलियो। A4
हाँ
साइज विल बी
हाँ
बेटर।
सर सर ओके थैंक यू सर।
हेलो, एनी डाउट? हेलो। हेलो
सर इनइक्वालिटी
इनइक्वालिटी inequality among nations, unit 23.
yes sir
Inequality is the hello
sir close tab
inequality among nations is viewed from economic point of view. There is high income group, high economic capability states in the world. There are also a number of poverty-stricken states. Inequality and poverty are not equal concepts. Poverty is concerned with the absolute standard of living of a part of society that is poor. Inequality refers to relative living standard across the whole society. Inequality is a comparative phenomenon. Inequality means how much equal the state is with a high standard state having much economic capability and much technological capability. गोटिए अति धनिक राष्ट्र सहित अन्य राष्ट्र माने सर्वदा तुलनीय होती जेभली मानव समाज रे जड़े धनिक श्रेणीर व्यक्ति सह अन्यान्य व्यक्ति को आर्थिक दृष्टिकोण तुलना करा जाए अनुरूप भाव रे समग्र विश्व रे मध्य अमेरिका भली सर्वोच्च धनिक राष्ट्र सह अन्यान्य राष्ट्र को जीवन धारणर मानदंड सह तुलना करिवा जीवन धारणर सुविधा सुजोग सह तुलना करिवा मुंड पिछा आय बा पर कैपिटा इनकम सह तुलना करिवा नेशनल इनकम बा जातीय आय सह तुलना करिवा फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व रेशियो सहित तुलना करिवा द्वारा जो पार्थक्य सृष्टि हुए जा ताकू ही कहा जाए राष्ट्र राष्ट्र भितर असमानता बा इनइक्वालिटी एमंग स्टेट्स इनइक्वालिटी इन टर्म्स ऑफ standard of living, inequality in terms of per capita income, inequality in terms of national income, inequality in terms of foreign exchange reserve ratio. From these angles, inequality is judged. Also, there are two approaches to measuring inequality among nations. One is the currency rate conversions. In assessing global income inequality. Another is purchasing power parity. गोटे राष्ट्र जनसाधारण निकट रे क्रय शक्ति केते अछि जागु बुझा जाए आर्थिक क्षमता क्रय कौ माध्यम अर्थ माध्यम लोक पाखरे अर्थ थिले तो तेणु गोटे राष्ट्र लोक पाखरे केते परिमाण रे आर्थिक क्षमता अछि जिंस पत्र क्रय करबा अमेरिका जनसाधारण पाखरे केते अछि भारतीय जनसाधारण पाखरे केते अछि इंग्लैंड जनसाधारण पाखरे केते अछि तो चाइना जनसाधारण से दृष्टि समानता और असमानता को निर्धारण करा जाउछि आ गोटे करेंसी रेट कन्वर्सन्स विनिमय मुद्रा डॉलर तुलन रे भारतीय विनिमय मुद्रा पाउंड तुलन रे भारतीय विनिमय मुद्रा येन तुलन रे भारतीय विनिमय मुद्रा रो तुलना को बेस करी आ क्रय शक्ति लोक मानकर क्रय शक्ति को बेस करी राष्ट्र राष्ट्र भितर थिबा जो असमानता को निर्धारण करा जाउछि and this has become a power game in international politics that is about inequality. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Any more question? Any more question? Any more doubt? Hello? Doubt? Hello? Dear learners, have you any more doubt?
No, sir.
Thank you. Sir? Hello, sir? Hello? Sir? Sir, we shall close this session, sir. Hello, sir. Okay.
सर स्लाइड सेंड कर दे सर को सर सर पलाले पिले मैंने चलो